it's a bit of a workout. So listen, we're not quite done, although this is our final speaker. We have a couple of other things going on after, so don't take off. There are some things going on. But it gives me great pleasure right now to introduce our final presenter. He's the author of Management 3.0, How to Change the World, Workout, and Managing Craftiness, the updated version. He calls himself a creative networker, but sometimes he's also referred to as a speaker, a trainer, an entrepreneur, an illustrator, a manager, a blogger, a reader, a dreamer, a leader, a free thinker, and sometimes he's just a Dutch guy. His blog includes topics on the creative economy, agile management, organizational change, personal development. And there's some personal things going on here. It's a milestone that everyone should be aware of, that we're actually celebrating right now. I don't know if everyone's aware of this, but 5 years ago, this is the day, actually I don't know if it's on today, but 5 years ago, Jurgen did his first North American training session on Management 3.0. It was the first time offered in North America, taught of course by Jurgen. Jason and Andrew attended that. Did anyone else attend that? It was held here 5 years ago. So, Jurgen, welcome back.
All right. Thanks. All right. Indeed, 5 years ago. Memories. So, the best trick that I have ever done is making 1 million euros disappear. And I never. Can you do that?
Many times.
Many times. That's that's on my resume, I'm afraid. So it's great to be here again, indeed, after 5 years. I'm glad to see the same coffee store is still around the corner. And oops, where's my clicker? This is my clicker. Ooh, it's a Russian model. I like that. Awesome. And I just came from Milwaukee yesterday, which is a really nice town. Have anyone been in Milwaukee? Yeah. Lovely river walk they have there. Awesome. Sorry, and cheese? Cheese. I haven't seen any cheese, but I was running too fast, I think, perhaps, to see the cheese. And tomorrow I go to Ottawa, and then Montreal, and then Quebec, and then home, at last, for a couple of hours, and then up to the next city. So I travel a lot, and all of that is to of course, to promote my book a little bit. I'm sure you'll forgive me for that. My story about the book starts with, it's all about managing, leadership, but I am actually not a manager, I'm not a leader, I'm a software developer, like some of you perhaps here in the audience. I'm a software engineer. I was raised as a software engineer at the University of Delft in the Netherlands. But I was probably so bad at programming that my teammates begged our CEO to promote me away into a management position where they thought I could do less harm. Little did they know at the time. So I started managing, but I had absolutely no idea how to manage people. I knew how to work with computers. So for me, software developers were computers on legs with hair. That's how I treated them. I tried to give them instructions, they never followed them. I tried debugging, even worse, I can tell you. Doesn't work on people. And basically, I did as what others would say in this industry of management and leadership. I treat the organization like a machine. I gave people instructions, I tried to optimize the parts, I saw people as the replaceable cogs in the machine, and that didn't work. I call it management 1.0, treating the organization as if it is a machine. And that led to bad performance. Bad management leads to bad performance, in my experience. I have plenty of stories about that. My favorite one is about the million euros. That I love sharing now, not at the time, but now I'm okay with it. It was at the end of the 90s when I had my own little startup that I managed. I had my own little internet startup. It was from 1999 to 2002. And that was the internet hype, the internet bubble. Yes, I participated in that as well. I was really proud at that time that I was rewarded a prize in the Netherlands. I was called Entrepreneur of the Year in 1999 in my country. Yeah, and they gave me that. Thank you so much. Wait before you get too enthusiastic. I'm not done yet. They gave me that award for my business plan. Okay? Not my business. My plan for a business. There's a subtle difference there. You know? So by now I figured out that I'm really good at writing. I wrote a business plan and it looked fantabulous. It had diagrams. I'm also good at drawing, by the way. I made diagrams, and the diagrams showed that the revenue would go up according to my plan. The profits would go up. The number of employees would go up. My ego would go up. Everything would go up according to my plan. The jury had never seen something like that before. They thought it was amazing. They made me Entrepreneur of the Year for that plan. I now call it my first work of fiction. And I already was awarded for that. It was one big fantasy story, basically. And what was interesting is that I actually got informal investors, angel investors, as they call that, to invest 1 million euros in my business plan. And I hired 6 or 7 people to run that business with me. And we were very, very successful at spending all that money to the last euro. We never found any customers. Sadly, because the plan didn't work. Oh boy. So I learned a couple of things there, of course, and I will share those learnings with you. At one point, I had several of these failures behind me, several companies that failed. Most of them don't exist anymore. I remember sitting on the sofa once, or couch, as some would say, and I thought, maybe I could turn that into a new venture, a new business model. Hire me and get me a job at your competitor. I will manage them to destruction, I can guarantee that. There's a lot of experience there. Anyways, things have changed. Now people are fighting me. I love that. I love traveling around the world and sharing such stories as I will be doing now. Because apparently I learned a few things in the last 10 to 15 years. And there's no silver bullet to managing organizations better. There's no one best way to do this. There's no holy grail, as the British would say, but who cares what the British think nowadays, and at least we don't in Europe, I'm afraid. But there are 7 silver bullets. I found that there are 7 silver bullets to manage organizations better. And I found those throughout my travels across businesses in the last 10, 15 years. Let me give you some examples. I learned that change is easier when people share food. It's a practice that is in Linda Rising's book. I'm sure some of you have read it, Fearless Change. One of the patterns in her book says, do food, feed people, if you want to change their minds. It's a psychological trick. This is something that we had to learn, the Dutch in Brussels at the European Union, because we were all very decent, showing up at meetings on time, of course, and thinking that all the discussions were done during the meetings, and then we went home at 5 o'clock. And then we learned the very next day that the Germans and the French had made all the decisions during dinners. And we weren't there. We didn't know that it worked that way. So the Dutch had to learn there. And I applied this once by inviting people to my house for dinner. People at the company where I worked. I was CIO of a company of about 200 people. I had a spreadsheet with random names. And I invited 2 programmers, an account manager, a project manager, system administrator, the vice president of the pencils and paper clips. And I got them to my house, and when they arrived, I told them, and now you do the cooking. Surprise! They thought it was a little odd. And then 2 programmers would self-organize and take care of the main course, and the account manager and the project manager would pick up the appetizers, and the system administrator said, all right, I will do the desserts. And being a system administrator, he did not allow anyone access to the chocolate, of course, without permission, filling out a form. And I was a manager. which meant I just stood there looking at other people doing hard work. It's a great role, I can tell you. Well, I did a little bit more. I prepared the kitchen. I fetched all the groceries, I made the recipes available, I explained how things worked. So I had a job too. And I call that Management 3.0. That's managing the environment for them to be happy and productive. By the way, there's a step in between, Management 2.0, that would be trying to do a good job, but then still attaching a value to the hierarchy that is already there. So still feeling that you're actually more important as the manager, but trying to engage everyone from your ivory tower. So that's 2.0. 3.0 is managing the system. And I nurture the happiness in the kitchen. I cannot make people happy, but I can create conditions under which it might emerge with the right constraints. I have some more examples. I was having dinner once with my CEO, lunch once with my CEO, and I said, we never celebrate anything around here. We're always rushing from one project to the other, always busy, busy, busy. And I said, we should every now and then just stand still and enjoy our accomplishments and what we learned. He said, okay, what do you suggest? Well, we had a big open office space, a big open floor plan with 150 people around. I said, maybe something that makes a bit of noise, that we could ring like a bell or something. 2 weeks later, the CEO came to my desk with this copper ship's bell. This is the actual bell that I took a photo of. I have no idea where he stole it, which ship sunk or whatever. But anyways, he brought the bell to my desk and said, here's the bell. Now do something useful with it. And I was like, whoa, awesome. So I brought the bell to the office police, the office manager, of course. And I asked her to place the bell next to the coffee machine. And from that moment, anyone was allowed to ring the bell for any reason. It could be a project delivered, it could be a baby delivered, or whatever, by the person, not by the company, of course. And then 150 people would get together around the coffee machine to learn what the celebration was all about. And of course, they quickly figured out that there would probably be cookies and cake when you heard that sound. That helps, right? Run before it is all gone. And then people dropped their work and they gathered around the coffee machine. And the person who rang the bell would celebrate and explain what there was to celebrate. Funny thing is, by the way, that the last time I heard the bell was when the CEO announced to the whole company that I had just quit my job, which is a true story. So I went there a couple of years ago, and the bell was still there. I was very proud of that, and I asked them, are you still ringing it? Yes, we rang it last week for some kind of project, I don't remember. And I was proud of that. There was a bit of legacy that remained after I had gone for several years already. So for me, this is proof of some playfulness that I added to the office. Let's be weird, let's just ring a bell, drop our work, and celebrate, woohoo, and then go back to work. Why not, right? And it was, for me, an experiment. Can I change the organization's culture by doing something like this? Can I have them drop their work for 10 minutes and then continue where we left off? And yes, I could. They're still ringing that bell. And by doing more of these experiments, I started learning faster as a manager. Another example, an experiment that I'm running right now with my current team. I noticed that many managers and other people love signing contracts, agreements with people, with clients, with employees, with suppliers. But the problem with contracts and agreements is by definition, they limit people's freedoms. You can't do this, you cannot do that, you have to do that. And that might be necessary sometimes, but often it just makes people unhappy. So my current experiment is, can I run a company with people without any agreements whatsoever? I do not sign contracts with my current team members. This is how I feel about that right now. They seem happy. At any moment, one of them can say, I would like to work from Bali at half of my productivity. Then we say, well, we have no contract limiting your work hours or location, so go ahead, we'll somehow make it happen. Make it work, because that's easier than finding a replacement for that person. Or when they want to change their job titles, well, we don't even have job titles. We have roles we come up with ourselves. We have a zookeeper who is over there. We have a chief geek. We have a project bottleneck, is one of them. He's Canadian, by the way, so you think about that. And we have an emperor god overlord, which would be me, yours truly. And some people find this innovative, this lack of agreements with each other. How does that work? Well, it works for 1.5 years already, or nearly 2. And I think that having no contract, it was full of fluffy pillows and yoga mats and all that stuff. And that was the company supporting this, which was fantastic. Oh, and HR renamed themselves to People Development Support because they did not like the word HR, which was fantastic. I know companies that have kudo boxes or kudo walls, which is basically a place where people can write thank you notes and give each other a gift when they compliment each other. That hits the first ones. Thank you. Oops, I clicked the wrong button every time. Thank you and give something to another person. What did I do a number of years ago? Well, I invited colleagues, my teams, to have code reviews outside in the sun in the park. They thought it was a bit strange. I asked them, just print some classes and interfaces and all that stuff. Yes, I'm a developer, I know what I'm talking about, so just print it and bring it outside. I nearly had to drag them from their caves outside into the fresh air, and they were like, oh my God, what is that thing up there? It's so bright. That's the sun, you idiot. You cannot swipe it away. That's the real thing. Now go sit here in the grass, on the tree trunk or whatever. And then we had a great discussion about code, and then we did that regularly when it was great weather. I call that hiking. It was actually just 50 meters or something like that. I mean, but it was getting out in the fresh air, so it counts, in my opinion. It was a long way for some of the developers. And there's plenty of other suggestions. So I have a wonderful looking poster, or my team actually has a wonderfully looking poster that you can print and maybe confront your managers or yourselves every now and then. That these are things that we can work on together. Have the workplace be a happier place for everyone. Some more examples. I still have about 16 minutes, and I'm going to fill them to the last second, I can assure you. So here's an interesting topic, one of my favorites. Culture. The culture of the organization. Let me introduce it with this picture. This is a screenshot that I stole from a company's website. Our values are responsibility and sustainability. Does anyone know from which company's website I took this screenshot? Anyone? Sorry? No? Guess which one was in the news recently in a horrible way? Not Shell? Volkswagen, yes. Our values are responsibility and sustainability. I think this might be a rare case of German humor that we see here. I'm Dutch. I have to tease the Germans. It's in my genes. It's in my genes. I can't help it. And so what was the real purpose at Volkswagen? Does anyone know? What they really wanted to achieve? Profit, not profits, more specific. Sales, more specific. Sorry? Yeah. Sell the most cars. Yes, be bigger than Toyota. Yeah, that was easy to remember. Toyota was the biggest car manufacturer in the world for many years. They wanted to be bigger. Yeah. And they were bigger for a couple of weeks. Until, as they say so beautifully in the English language, the shit hit the fan. Love that expression. Thank you so much for offering that to the world. We don't have it in our language. I insert it anywhere I can. I can only imagine the boardroom at that moment. Oh my God. Anywho, so there's one thing missing here that is obvious for agile people, which would be a feedback cycle. Are we doing what we say that we're doing? Or, as the researchers would say with difficult words, as always, are the espoused values the same as the enacted values, right? So there's a gap, a wide gap in this case. So we have to narrow the gap. There are different ways of doing that. My team tries it semi-successfully, perhaps, with a value stories channel. We have simply a Slack channel where we discuss difficult topics or meaningful topics, discussions on that channel that probably somehow reflect on our values. As an example, a number of months ago, one of our customers, clients, ordered some books online from our web shop and then went on vacation for 2 months. And then, of course, the books could not be delivered because he wasn't home, and then the books came back, and then when he came back, said, oh yeah, send them again. And I was like, what? You knew you were going on vacation. Why do you do this? We now have to pay shipping expenses twice. And then the discussion was, are we going to do this? Or are we going to charge the customer? Or do we say, okay, well, for this time then, we'll be kind. Well, regardless of the outcome, this is a good discussion to have. What kind of organization do you want to be for yourselves and for the outside world? And the interesting thing is, lots of companies have value lists. I call them, again, a 2.0 practice. It's well intended, but you're not there yet. Right? It's very nice to have a poster that says, sustainability, responsibility, honesty, openness, transparency, respect, and focus, or something, right? But does anyone remember that? No? No, I don't. But when I go to the supermarket for 3 items, I come back with 2. And I'm like, oh my God, I forgot the milk again. I cannot even remember 3 items when I go to the supermarket, let alone 7 that are on our corporate poster somewhere on the office walls. So what people remember are stories. Our brains are storytelling devices. We tell each other stories all the time. I know plenty of stories that were shared on our value stories channel. So what we need is different mechanisms through storytelling to close that gap, to narrow the gap. Handbooks, culture books are a famous example of this. In some companies, people have create handbooks of their own stories, of what it means to work at the company. I was in Gliwice, Poland, where the company Future Processing had a culture video. It was the employees themselves who went around with a video camera, interviewing each other, asking, what makes you feel great working at this company? And then the stories came. And that turned into a 10 or 20-minute video that they then used in recruiting. But the employees themselves came up with the idea. They loved it. And that's one example. Zappos is a famous example of a company that has a culture book. You can download it. I'm quite sure some of you have seen it before. And IDEO is a famous company, design company that you've heard of, I'm sure. They have as a value, be optimistic. Well, are they optimistic? I would like to know as an employee, what are the optimistic things happening around here? Or is it just something on a slide deck on the Dropbox? So comparing the documented values or those on the website with the actual behaviors. And that needs to be done iteratively, right, with short cycles. That gets me to this slide by Frederic Laloux, which is a nice example of a practice that you could have. He said in Reinventing Organizations, many organizations have annual value days, where people get together to revisit purpose, values, and ground rules, and inquire how they live up to them. Great idea, but it only happens once per year. I'm sure that's not enough. It's a very slow feedback cycle. Right? You'll need other things as well to share stories more often. This quote got thousands of retweets. I found it last year on Twitter. The culture of any organization is shaped by the worst behavior the leader is willing to tolerate. Many people recognize this, thousands of retweets. And I agree with it. Okay, if something bad happens and you don't intervene as the leader, then that will be the baseline of your culture. Everything else will grow from that. I prefer the positively phrased version, which would be this: the culture of any organization is shaped by the best behavior the leader is willing to amplify. Sadly, this did not get thousands of retweets yet. I'm counting on you guys over here. And, well, probably you need a bit of both, right? You need this one, the negative one, and the positive one. As they say in marriage, probably it is a 1-to-5 ratio. For every point of criticism, you have to compensate with 5 compliments at the least to make it equal, make it even, because the criticism has more of an impact. So that applies, I'm sure, to leaders in organizations as well. And that is how you grow an organizational culture, by having values, sharing stories, and then highlighting the good stuff all the time, and every now and then intervening. But make sure that you highlight the good stuff much more often. That brings me to the next practice that also helps me and my team to highlight the good stuff and our values, which is merit money, peer-to-peer crediting. Is anyone familiar with a practice called the bonus system? I'm sure some of you are. Maybe even have some first-hand experience, I don't know. So the traditional approach to bonuses, when there's a bit of extra money to go around in the company, is that managers apply what is traditionally called as the ZIPS law, or the Pareto principle, or the 80-20 rule, which means 80% disappears in the pocket of the manager, and then 20% goes to everyone else. How very kind to share that 20%. And this repeats itself in a fractal way all down the hierarchy, so by the time you get to the bottom, nothing is left. They call that trickle-down economics for a reason. So it doesn't work that well. That's why some people say, you just pay everyone an equal amount of income. Steady salaries all the way. Don't do silly things with bonuses. And I think they have a good point, but you'll have a big problem to solve, which is entitlement. Did you know that among drivers, 60 or 70% in the world think they are above average drivers? Makes no sense. I read that among college professors, 80% think they are above average college professors. Now, these are smart people. They should understand the concept of 50% and average, things like that. I am very sure, I'm very confident that among professional keynote speakers, 90% think they are above average. I know these guys and girls, right? So this was researched. It was on ScienceDaily.com. I have the link somewhere in my Evernote database. They asked people on teams, how much did you contribute to the team as a percentage? They added up those percentages, did it with many teams, and then on average they came up with 140%. Where did that 40% come from? That's entitlement. People feeling entitled to more. They think they did more than others. Yeah. And actually this effect is stronger the bigger the team gets. Which makes sense, because the larger the team, the less people know what the others did. I have no idea what they did over there, but I sure know that I did a lot. I worked all night. And they cannot possibly have worked all night over there on the other side of the team. Right? So this effect needs to be compensated somehow. If you have steady income and you don't differentiate between those who did a bit more and those who did a bit less, then 70 or 80% will think they're underpaid. It won't be true, but they're human beings, right? Like me. Yeah. So somehow you have to compensate. My team tries that with what we call merit money. Peer-to-peer crediting. It works as follows. We have a steady income, and every now and then there's a little bit extra. And that extra is not decided by me, because I don't do that. I manage the system, not the people. So we have points. At the start of the month, every person has 100 points, and then they credit each other for their performance. Like 10 points to you for helping me out yesterday, 5 points to you for your super fast response times and your jokes that were sometimes funny even. 15 points to you for your helping me out with the web server that I crashed. I'm so sorry about that, but thanks to you, it's up and running again. And these points, they accumulate over time. So that's peer-to-peer crediting. I don't decide how much they get it from each other. And as the business owner, every now and then I set aside some bonus money, depending on how well we're doing at the company. And like a jackpot, this bonus money also builds up over time. And in the summer months, we have slow season, so nothing goes in the jackpot, but other times it can be more. The only thing that we need to do is to pick a good moment to decide who gets how much. How do we convert those peer-to-peer credits into the real money that is available in the correct ratios, of course. This is how we do that. Oh, I don't hear
Oh,
sound.
come on, big money, big money.
Everyone give it a kiss. Come on, lucky dice. We love you, we love you. Oh, it's a 6.
No way!
Can you see? Can you see that?
So we have a simple company rule that's easy to remember. At the start of the month, one person throws a dice, and it has to be on video, it has to be recorded, otherwise it doesn't count. If that person throws a 6, we pay out the bonus money. No 6, no bonus. That's it. Simple. I love simplicity. Yeah. We do it like this so that none of us can predict when it is bonus payout time. Because we all know what happens when people are promised a bonus in December. They will have spent the money before they even received it. And when it is less than expected, as it often is, they will be demotivated again, and you're back to square one. Oh my God, only $50, but I just went shopping at Louis Vuitton. Well, that's your own problem, isn't it? None on my team, they don't have that. They have no idea when the bonus, it could take years, theoretically. You just have to throw a 6. Anyone can do that at some point in time. And they think it is like their own little Las Vegas casino. Every month there's a chance of winning, and you can't lose, which is awesome. You just have another chance next month. And what I like about this is it is all in line with crowdsourcing, crowdfunding, delegating decisions to the crowd. This is 360-degree continuous performance measurement that we do on a day-to-day basis. Every day I have a chance to credit someone. And what is nice about the app that we use, which is Bonusly, bonus.ly, is that we can attach the values that we find important. Every time I compliment someone, I say, thank you for doing this, #kindness, or #commitment, or something like that. Makes it even measurable, which is nice. All right, last couple of minutes, nearly there. When should we celebrate? When should we ring the bell? Should we ring it for successes, or should we ring it also for failures? Some people say we should celebrate failures too. We should celebrate failures. There are fail conferences, I learned, where people get together and celebrate that they failed. Woohoo! Wasted 1 million euros. Celebrate. How many of you say every now and then it is okay to ring the bell to celebrate a failure? Let me see some hands. Let's celebrate failure. All right, good number of hands. How many of you say celebrate success seems to make more sense? So let's celebrate success. Let's ring the bell for celebrating successes. Failures, maybe not. Okay, all right. How many of you say let's just celebrate everything? Who cares? Failure, success, party all the time, whatever. That makes no sense whatsoever. So this is the real story. I created this diagram based on the work of Donald Reinertsen, who wrote Principles of Product Development Flow and other books. Has anyone read Donald Reinertsen's book? I see people. You're lying. It's unreadable. It's full of information theory, queuing theory. I gave up halfway after all the queuing theory and stuff like that. But I got the gist of Donald's message. And I turned it into a diagram, and I checked with the Donald and said, is this correct? And he said, yeah, that's what I meant. Thank God. Because Donald is 10 times smarter than we are, but I'm a 10 times better illustrator than Donald is. Donald said, no, you're 100 times better. We differ on the details there, but that's not the matter. Nothing important. So when we celebrate failure, we celebrate this part of the diagram. That is the failures that include the failures of us making mistakes. And why would you celebrate the bell for those situations? Makes no sense. Yeah. Sorry? No, not when you're repeating a mistake. You already know that the mistake usually leads to failure. It's that part of the diagram I'm talking about. So it makes sense to celebrate success, but the problem is that most organizations only ring the bell for successes. And then we incentivize people to move in that direction, to repeat good practices, because we know that they probably work. And then who is going to run the experiments in the middle? Who is going to do the learning? Because Donald says in his book, with lots of words, that learning is optimal when we run experiments. And when there's a 50-50 chance of succeeding or failing, then the accumulation of information is optimal. I have no idea what I'm saying right now. I'm just channeling Donald at this moment. So learning is optimal in the middle when we run experiments. And that means we also should celebrate learning, even when we failed. And that is usually what people mean when they say celebrate failure, even though it is technically incorrect. They should say we celebrate the learning, even when we failed. But that's not catchy enough. So that's the real deal. And I call that a celebration grid as a visual reminder of when to celebrate. And people find that quite useful because it's basically the same as the 3 standard Scrum questions that some people use in their retrospectives. What should we start doing? What should we stop doing? What should we continue doing? What we should start doing is run more experiments. They're over here at the top and drop them in. What we should continue doing is anything that lands at the top. And what we should stop doing is anything that lands at the bottom. Same questions, only in a visual way. And sometimes I literally draw a funnel at the top to remind myself at the end of a workshop to run more experiments. Here's a photo that I just received last week of a company that had a huge A0-sized poster created that they wanted to have in their office wall so that they could always use it for retrospectives, full of sticky notes that they collected, which is awesome. And here's another one by a Dutch company. You can see that they're Dutch because they finished their retrospective just before 5 o'clock. Yay! Ooh! Done. Very punctual. Very punctual. Everyone home. Back to the kids. So those were my experiments. And hopefully you recognize the 7 silver bullets that I started with at the beginning, 60 minutes ago. Manage the system, not the people, manage the system around them for more happiness so that it emerges and then people will play more and try all kinds of experiments and learn faster. And hopefully that helps us to innovate also in management and build more products for meaning. So this is all in the book Managing for Happiness. I see a couple of copies here, which is awesome. It is, by the way, a re-release of the workout book, as mentioned earlier. And but I sold that workout book to all my friends like 20 times until they got sick of it and begged me to stop. And at the right moment, the publisher came in, Wiley, and said, "Can we take over the publishing of the book?" I said, "Hell yes, because my friends are killing me trying to sell the book to them." And they said, "Okay, we'll take over." And they said, "By the way, we're going to give it a new title." I said, "What?" Because they didn't like the title Workout. Imagine someone walking up to you and say, "We're going to give your child a new name." I had to get used to the idea, as you can imagine. But anyways, I got used to it by now, and I think they did a good job. They know the market. They know better than I do. And for those interested, I have a special sticker in the book, a book plate sticker. So when I sign the book, I give you that sticker. And this is the very last drawing that I've made. Because I did all the drawings in the book. I did not do the drawings of the presentation. Those are Canadian drawings by our fantabulous illustrator Chad, who lives in Regina, somewhere in Canada. No idea where that is, because it's a big place. And Chad took over because it doesn't scale. Illustrating does not scale. So I said to people on my mailing list, I'm going to make one more illustration. That's going to be my book plate sticker, and you can tell me what you want on that sticker. And then people said, I want you to draw a caveman. A caveman? Okay, well, whatever. Here's the caveman. I want you to draw a dragon. All right, here we have the dragon. I want a team on fire. Sure, why not? Here's a team on fire. It's all there. It's all on the book plate sticker. So you can get the sticker if you ask nicely. And thank you so much for listening, and I hope you had a wonderful day. Back to the MC. Sure. Yeah, because I want to ask, is that we do have Q&A time? Okay. Okay, cool. Let's do some questions. Andrew.
Am I on? Yes. So I so appreciate your being here, 5 years onwards.
Yes.
From our first.
We could make this a ritual every 5 years or something like that.
No, I hope it happens more frequently. Yeah, shorter feedback loops.
Yeah.
And I want to. I'm so impressed with your localization because the picture that you showed of the celebration grid was posted by Mike Kaufman.
Oh, okay, awesome. Well, thank you for that. Awesome. Thank you. Yeah.
So the bonus idea,
Yeah.
right, where the merit money, all of that. So how do you take that on a scale, on a bank?
How do you do the merit money in scale?
On a bank.
On a bank.
Like, take a big company and a manager that really wants to do it, has all the desires in the world.
Well,
Is it applicable?
Well, I would say big bang approaches are unlikely to be successful out of the box.
Bank.
Yeah, bank, yes, but I mean a big bang approach, introducing it on big bank approach, big bang, that is unlikely to work well. You have to experiment at a smaller scale, I think,
Yeah.
and then scale it up once you have it working, because you need to test the culture, because there's so many parameters that you can play with. The level of transparency, which on my team we have up to 100%. You can see everything that how everyone is credited for what reasons and all. But I know some companies where I stole this practice from, because it's not my idea, I just collected it. They have other levels of transparency, like you only see the top 10 of most rewarded people or something like that. Or you can reuse the points that you received again to give them away again, which we don't do. You don't use money, but they use gifts, so you can collect money for a new PlayStation or something like that. There's only gifts that you can pick. So many parameters that I think you have to play with those first to know that it works well for one team, and then try it more multiple teams, and then ultimately scale it up to a larger organization, because I'm quite sure a bank is an interesting environment to try this. Yeah. But in theory, it scales because it's a social network, right? That's unlike other practices like personal maps. You don't discuss personal maps with 30,000 people. That's going to take a while answering all those questions. Yeah. But merit money, yeah, easily. Other questions? Oh, over there. Run, Sue, run.
Hi. So I'll try not to be too long-winded. So Daniel Kahneman in Thinking Fast and Slow describes when they artificially get people to smile, they become less effective at solving math problems, and when he forces them to frown, they become more effective at solving math problems. So I'm wondering, in your experience, does it bear out that there's any circumstance where being unhappy is more valuable for solving problems, or is happiness always the answer?
Well, great question. I think it depends on how you define it. I am sometimes accused of being grumpy, particularly online, where I share that the Wi-Fi doesn't work again and things like that. And then people say, "Why are you so grumpy all the time?" And then I say, "Well, that keeps me happy. I have to let it out. I don't keep it in." That is what I need. And other people are maybe the opposite. It is very personal experience. I am known for living in the moment, just letting it out, and then the next minute I can be fully happy again, because I got rid of that emotional disturbance that I felt. So yes, I don't think that you should smile all the time, because that would be fake, indeed. There was a nice article on Economist 2 weeks ago or something, where companies instructed people to smile. You could be fired if you weren't smiling in the hallways, basically. That is like the whole happiness thing reversed. That is the opposite of what is intended. But they want the employees to be happy, so they instruct everyone, you should be happy, you should paint that smile on your face. And then I would agree with Daniel Kahneman, that's not going to work. You should be authentically happy. Even if that means in the moment you feel a little bit grumpy, if that is what you need, be grumpy. Because a few minutes later, you will be smiling for real again. And then I think we could be on the same level as Daniel Kahneman. So, interesting topic, yeah. Yes, over there. Last one, okay.
So, it sounds like your team is all happy. Like everyone in your team is happy?
Well, sort of, I hope.
Do you have conflicts in your team?
Yes.
How do you deal with when two people in the team are not happy and they're in a conflict?
I just fire one of them.
Which one? Which one?
The one who doesn't smile. No, just kidding. No, I love telling the story of some team members having a bit of friction on our team a number of months ago, because somebody was invading somebody else's territory, and some people on the team felt a similar way. And what they did, and I was really proud of them, and Lisette remembers quite well, I think, that they organized their own virtual pillow fight. I love the name itself. So they organized a virtual pillow fight. They were really adult in handling the situation, and this person he was full of good intentions. He was enthusiastically doing all kinds of things, of which other people said, hey, that was my job. I like doing my job. I appreciate help, but if I ask. And he didn't ask, he just did it because he was enthusiastic. So he needed some instruction, say, hey, go play over there. And they did it themselves, and I was so proud of them because I wasn't even there. I saw the video afterwards, and I felt so proud of the team that they handled it in this situation. But that is something that you have to learn as a team over time, I'm quite sure. We also had a situation where it didn't work, because indeed I did fire someone earlier this year in January because it didn't work. But the team failed in establishing the awareness or the mutual awareness that this team member did not operate as a team member. Was working all the time on her own, not delivering what the rest of the team needed, until I said, hey, this is it, you're out. But I had hoped that, or I expected maybe, that the team would make such a decision together. Well, maybe next time we can, because we grow up, we get more mature, and then I sometimes say that the ultimate test of maturity of a team was probably when you're able to fire someone together. If you can do that, because hiring is easy. Firing is more difficult. If you can do that, you're a mature team. Thanks for that question.
Thank you very much.
Thank you too.
That's okay. Listen, we're going to have more time.
He's the boss.
We are up against a bit of time, but we make sure you get your question, okay? Cool. Sorry. So we do have,
No worries.
thank you very much, by the way.
Thank you too.